Universities used to be highly regarded centres of learning attended by scholars in pursuit of knowledge. And they do still cater to this kind of serious student, of course, but increasingly they also cater to people who want their neurotic identity grievances validated and who are willing to pay for it. This inevitably damages the university's credibility as a serious institution, like a music academy offering a course in the air guitar or the comb and paper. Identity grievances have become quite fashionable in recent years, as they give a voice to people who otherwise would never be listened to because they're not worth listening to. They're fueled in the main by feelings of resentment and entitlement in people who've got nothing to be resentful about and who are not entitled to anything, but who nevertheless feel the need to shove their personal, ethnic or sexual identity neurosis into everybody else's face because that's the kind of parasitic personality they've been encouraged to develop by a progressive crybaby culture that sanctifies victimhood. A culture which has now produced a generation of emotional casualties constantly looking for ways to be somehow compensated for who they are. How much do you have to hate yourself to want to live like that? And of course, the universities are full of these imbeciles because education is so much more inclusive now, and stupidity is no longer any barrier to a place at university. Indeed, stupidity has become so lucrative, the universities can't get enough of it through their doors. And in this way, they do serve one important social function in keeping the people who are too thick for an apprenticeship off the streets. Unfortunately, stupidity is not an asset in serious subjects like science or medicine or engineering, so the universities have to provide a kind of academic play-doh for the stupid people who are incapable of studying anything real because they're too stupid even to be there, but the university wants their money. So now you can get a PhD and call yourself professor in all kinds of poor me, social justice, identity grievance bollocks, but you can't get one in common sense. That's not on offer. Not that there would be anyone qualified to teach it if it was. So what are we going to do with all these people, these gender studies and black studies and ethnic studies and queer studies and equity studies scholars coming out of university who think they're educated? McDonald's can only employ so many people. And who in their right mind would want to employ somebody who spent the last few years obsessing over an imagined victim status? They're going to be nothing but trouble. Unless they can join some funded pressure group or NGO full of single-issue dimwits like themselves, the only place they can go realistically is back into academia, call themselves professor, and help to dumb down the next generation. Imagine attending a university lecture knowing that the person you're listening to is dumber than you, and you're paying thousands to listen to them. That's how dumb you are. Maybe you can be a professor too. Of course, in the real world, as opposed to the fantasy rainbow world, there is no such thing as a professor of gender studies or a professor of black studies any more than there is an admiral of the boating pond. Wearing the uniform and the admiral's hat doesn't make it so, Professor. The very existence of these degrees is preposterous and fraudulent. They are not legitimate academic subjects. They are subjective identity grievances that belong in therapy, not in university, masquerading as academic subjects and as academic qualifications, so you can live-action role-play as a real academic with that vanity diploma you call a degree. This makes them an obvious magnet for the kind of low-IQ, finger-wagging troublemakers they attract like flies to manure, the kind of whiny, entitled, sanctimonious half-wits who are incapable of focusing on anything that doesn't feed their neuroses and reinforce their grievances, the kind of people who don't belong anywhere near a place of higher learning and whose presence there pollutes it for everyone.